Radical accountability. Practicing radical self-accountability is what it's all about. Someone can put hands on you. Someone can say things, put words at you. Any kind of level of injustice can happen. And while, yes, there is a perspective that could be argued from one end of the table to another on how people treat you is X, Y, and Z, the universal law and lesson from all of that is radical self-accountability. How and why am I at a table where people are treating me that way? You could take it to a government level. How and why am I in a country that is ran by a government that instills laws like X, Y, and Z? Radical self-accountability. Am I to move? Am I to become an activist and make change in the country I live in? In interpersonal relationships, they aren't meeting my needs. They are treating me a certain way. They. Radical self-accountability would say, if they remain the same as they are in this now moment, does that work for me? Is it pointful to communicate my needs? Yes. Is it pointful and effective to express your needs with expectation that they will change and fulfill those needs? No. That is a fucking tricky one. Because often, as a communicator myself and thinking, I'm going to express how I'm feeling so that they know and then can show up accordingly. That is the expectation. Why do we share and give things? Because subconsciously we know that that will come back to us. So really identifying why is it that I'm giving in the first place? It's probably to receive. Probably. Why am I expressing how I'm feeling to this person? So that I am heard, held, seen, and responded to. That's an expectation. Those are all expectations. To communicate without expectation is the ultimate level. To say, hey, I'm feeling this way and my needs aren't being met. Period. It's not to say that and then wait. Are they going to change? Are they going to do differently? Are they going to show up differently? That's expectation. It's not about the potential of how things could go. It's not about if they hear us and evolve and show up differently. It's not whether we're able to be activists and now the government instills new law and changes. It's if all of this remains the same, is this working for me? Radical self-accountability would say no. So then we act accordingly. We pivot and we change instead of reframing what's going on around us, which is a coping skill. Oh, well, this is this is happening to me so that I can learn from it. So instead I'm going to stay in and learn from it. Okay, you can do that. And at the same time, there's a breaching point where you go from self-evolution, self-study, self-learning into self-imposed neglect. By saying we are doing something, while you're staying in a situation to learn from it beyond a point of knowing that we've already learned from it, is actually neglectful to ourselves and reframing something that is not serving us into a lesson that we can learn from so that we actually don't have to take accountability for it, repivot into a new direction based on our needs and meeting our own standards. Olympic athletes still get tired and sore and fatigued and need to rehab themselves and therapy themselves while still being Olympic athletes. Same goes for self-aware, very well practiced communicators. I can communicate very well, very deep, very vulnerably, very real, very blunt. And the irony is the fucking eagle, the higher you fly, the higher risk of altitude exposure. The pressure intensifies. People can have a perception that like, oh, you're an Olympic athlete, like things come easy to you. Fuck no, it doesn't. Ironically, it's the opposite. Because you're increasing level, the bosses get harder. And in that upward spiral where it seems like you're just going around in circles, but you're going around in circles upwardly. Oh, you're brought back to level 1, ground 1 factors. Oh, this really fucking hard boss level I'm on actually still circles me back to the fundamentals of communication. Is this working for me? Am I doing what's best for me? Have I communicated clearly? We can communicate really passively. We can be very aloof in our communication. So the question is, are we communicating clearly, simply and directly? Are we taking care of our own needs and standards? Are we showing up for ourselves? Are we pivoting when needed? Or are we making it about them? Are we clear on what our needs are? Are we still acting in selflessness with expectation? Are we not only taking radical self-accountability, are we being radical in our self-accountability? It's challenging in a great way. We can over-communicate ourselves in a way that is like a merry-go-round, just like a fucking circus show. Communicating, overanalyzing, figuring, when it's like, look, yes or no. Maybe is no. Is it a fuck yes? Or is it a immediately yes or no? And the reason we avoid a lot of this and weird behaviors and dynamics and overthinking and trying to understand and over vocalizing and then trying to communicate and all this is because we know at the end of it all, the answer most often leads us to radical self-accountability that would have us exit stage left. Why are we not doing that? Because of attachments. Because of hopes. Because of expectations. Because of romanticizing. Because of limerence. Because of potential. Because of imaginary world versus real in your life, physical form world. Am I meeting my needs? Am I abandoning and bypassing my needs by giving energy and having hopes that this other person, this other circumstance, this job, this location, this whatever it is, that will give it to me? Because ultimately I want that to give it to me. And because I believe it and because I can manifest anything, I'm manifesting that they're going to do it, and it's going to be perfect. The house, the car, the life, the dream, the partner, the vacation, the fucking having the baby, buying the fucking whatever. I'm a manifester, so I can manifest it, and it's going to be great. Are you bypassing your radical self-accountability? Ugh. It's so good, and it's so fucking real. Often it can feel very lonely being at certain levels in our evolution, because choosing what's best for us in a radical self-accountability way often takes us away from things that we've been enjoying, ultimately because we are in front of those things because we have been self-abandoning in some capacity in hopes that it would turn out differently than how it actually is. And alas, there is a point of radical self-accountability where you will be at such harmony with yourself and your external life because your internal life is so dialed that you are fully satiated and not swayed by this external world in any capacity. Yet you are not impervious to the boat being rocked, because life is continually refining, turning those dials, switching the levers to be like, are you? Okay, you've been great at your accountability. Are you still? How are you now? Are you still? The wind does not stop blowing when a tree grows tall and strong. The wind always blows. Trees are always being strengthened. And some winds blow and break a tree down. Radical self-accountability. Are we actually doing that?